Welcome to the Flux public meeting for July 28th. We're going to get started. Just as soon as we've got all of our agenda items ready for today, we can get started. And is there anyone who'd like to volunteer to go first?
I think I can start by going through the board quickly.
Okay.
That's right. Let me share my screen. There we go. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Brilliant. So I think I covered that one of the previous sessions, but not everybody was around. So I changed the workflow. So before things are actually done, they actually go to this new column, which is Flux Dev Meeting. So it's slightly easier for us to see what we've done or what we focused on since the last session. So we could quite quickly just go through those items. So pretty much the commission managed transport, then which actually affected quite a few of these things. So for example, there was some X509 tests that were not working for Go 118. So those tests are not needed anymore now that we with the commission or at the commissioning the unmanaged transport. So that is not a problem anymore. Then there is quite a few things around the end-to-end tests for the image reflector, which Sunny was working on. Okay, yeah, so there is also this going with LibGitU, which is part of the commissioning of managed transport. So from this version, we pretty much stopped depending on the other dependencies like libz, OpenSSL, and so on. So that actually is pretty good for us. What else? So one thing that we kind of changed recently. So some users, I definitely had that issue before. We're getting early EOF from some specific service providers if they didn't have right, if they were not using credentials with right access. So now we changed it slightly, the error message to make sure that, actually it might not be, to make sure that we kind of say something along those lines so people can actually try to resolve that themselves. So we had this, the SSH key may not have right access to the repository. So hopefully that is easier for folks to deal with going forwards. Then there were a few PRs related to that. Let's see this one. Yeah, so some fixes around the CI, which is always good. Configure provider. Yeah, this one I'm not 100% sure the context, but anyways. So yeah, just moving on. Move common provider helpers to test. Yeah, this is part of the end-to-end test that Sen is working on to make sure that it's easier for us to test things like the end-to-end for the cloud providers. So yeah, that's all related. And these one, yeah, more tests regarding the whole Git changes. So that is pretty much that on like what I've been up to recently. One thing that I would ask, which is actually generally the second point, is if there's anything on the road to GA that you guys need help with reviewing or so on, just add the items below this, the PR, URLs below that, so we can actually prioritize that. But that is me.
All right, super. Thanks for that. And as you said, if we're need any reviews on PRs that are related to GA, we'd like them to be added here in the notes. Okay, so following that, It looks like Daniel is not here today and left us a couple of PRs to review, one of which is the change to the security team on the governance here, this community number 221, and the ecosystem Flux works well with. This looks like a change for the website. So people are keen to review PRs for community and website, please take a look. And then following that, the next item on the list is a Flux V1 release. Congratulations, Paulo. Thank you for taking up the mantle here. This is great.
Thank you for supporting me along the way. It's yeah, it's been quite an interesting journey. The key point that I wanted to raise around the Flux V1 release, well, it's pretty much that there was a lot of CVEs on both images. So if you know of anyone using those versions, make sure that they upgrade either to the latest or to Flux V2. There were some issues, especially with the Helm operator. The CI was not working anymore because we were using Circle CI OS images that were deprecated. So I updated that because until we archive that project, we'll have to kind of keep it up to date. So so yeah, that should be fixed now. A point after that, if no one has any questions about Flux V1, is around long-running fork for Git2Go. I think I mentioned briefly in the past about we're having issues with Git2Go. We need to be able to use libgit2 without thread, which Git2Go doesn't support. The maintainers of that project are not really keen on accepting that PR so far. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a fork in which we will automatically patch it every time they release a new tag. We release our own tag with the patch on top. Right now it's on my own account. If it makes sense, I can leave it there, or we can just move that to Flux CD. I will share the details of the changes that I'm putting here, so folks can have a look on that. But yeah, I'll share the link in a second. But yeah, just would actually like to get some views if you guys think that we should put on Flux CD, Flux CD org repo, or if it's okay to leave on mine until we get that merged upstream.
Do we still need more feedback about it, or?
Well, in theory, the patch is working. All the folks that were having the issues in the past, they're happy that it's working fine now. So, until it gets merged upstream, there's nothing we can do. So what I was thinking is we run this long-running fork for as long as it takes, or unless we find a different reason or a different approach. But the key thing is where would that reside? Like, is it okay for that to be a fork on my account, or shall we do that on the Flux CD?
Only thing I can think of is that there would be, it kind of doesn't seem to matter, except maybe for, if it were a branch on the Flux CD account, then other security members could stand in and help fix it if you were, for example, indisposed for a time. But
then again, we could also fork at any time and point it at a brand new repo if it was necessary.
Sure.
Not sure that would really be a serious impediment to anything.
That's true.
Yeah, because initially I mentioned to Hida to create that on Flux CD, but I think his initial impression was like, well, if this is going to be a short period, so maybe we don't need that.
Is there a story with the upstream? Is there a technical reason that they are not keen to make, or is it a not right now type of thing, or?
Well, they didn't come back to us again, but the initial feedback was that I was removing a validation that happened like at a init level, which meant that there was no options around. We would just remove that validation, completely. Since then, Sanskar made some kind of comments, and then we changed a bit the approach, which is now configurable. But since then, the maintainers upstream didn't come back to us at all, so we have no idea if
So
they're happy.
there is still a possibility that they'll merge it with your changes, but okay.
Yes.
All right.
So what I'll do is I'll add here my changes on my fork and also the thread upstream, so it's easier for people to follow.
Perfect. Yeah, I think as long as there's a possibility that it's not a permanent fixture, we should try to avoid putting it in the Flux CD org.
I think you're right too, Kingdon, about if there was an off chance that it became necessary for someone else besides Paolo to update it, we could do that. We're not blocked from that.
Brilliant.
That's great.
Okay, so the next item on the list is from Sanskar, who I see is also not here today. Can anyone speak for Sanskar, or shall we?
Actually, he just put in the chat that he would be back.
Oh, okay.
So just to skip him for now, and then maybe we can
Okay,
circle back at
come
the
back to
end.
that one.
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed that. So the next item on the list is from Scott then.
I think the only reason I put this on here right now is just I mentioned this in the last meeting, but I see Max on here, and I just wanted to maybe mention if we want to note it or say anything together for a few moments. But as a follow-up to our last Flux meeting, yeah, I've been interviewing, I don't know, talking with people, talking with other Flux maintainers about their experiences using the Helm SDK, because Helm is such an important part of, or it's a very big integration or a big part of the support that Flux adds. Flux doesn't depend on Helm, but we support it, and it's one of our big use cases. So and Flux is probably certainly one of the main, or one of the consumers of Helm's SDK that does it that makes most use of it and uses it most fully, and therefore I think we're in a position to have found a lot of the edge cases and areas for improvement. So I asked several people, Hida last week on the call, Stefan, and also Max for feedback, and Max has been sketching up some things, and we put an agenda item for the next Helm call. I guess, Max, I don't know if that covers everything, or if you wanted to say anything about that. I just thought it was important to mention in the Flux meeting.
Yeah, sure. I guess you have covered everything I would have said right now. So yeah, like what Scott and I did was pair on like an interface for a Helm SDK that from my perspective, maybe someone would come up with when you would be doing something like that from scratch. Like, I need to interact with Helm, with repositories, for example. How would a Go client look like if I did that? Not taking into account anything that exists today in the Helm repository, right? So a very greenfield thing. Yeah, that's what we did.
Yeah, and to be clear, the goal of this is short term, and it could be valuable for long term. So, any kind of from scratch idea, it's like, oh well, that sounds like a Helm 4 thing, and that may be true. But we're the goal here is to see if even if we're talking about like wrapper functions or something like that, that would then still allow us to keep the existing function signatures that that people rely on for Helm 3, any other SDK consumers, but allow us to also add more options, make more not only joyous use of it, but better use of it, and have to do a lot less workarounds. Does that sound right? Max?
Yeah, and I figure it could just coexist with existing machinery, and I guess it has to retain that backwards compatibility. So
Yes.
this maybe calling it new client would just coexist with existing code until the Helm project would probably decide or not that it would replace any existing APIs around it,
Yeah.
around repository interaction and whatever.
Cool. And the value to Helm, or sorry, the value to Flux. Like, why are we talking about Helm? So the value to Flux is that we do have to do a lot to make good use of certain parts of the Helm SDK, right? We have to do a lot of things that are kind of a lot to maintain, and it would be if we can move this upstream, and it's very possible that we can. Because I joined that core part of the Helm team, even though I've been in various other roles in the Helm project for a long time. Primarily to focus on improving the SDK. So, of course, it has to be good for everyone, not just Flux, but there's definitely a good chance of improving that upstream, and that could help us simplify our implementation.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, exactly. The last thing is the most crucial one, I think. Like, I think we are jumping through many hoops in source controller specifically, and I would love to boil that down to the minimum possible, right? And just some Go library calls to fetch charts from an OCI or an HTTP repository and whatever, because like we're instantiating OCI clients ourselves and injecting that into a Helm client and whatever. And I would love for us to just instantiate a Helm client, and that does everything else for us. We're just providing it with a URL, and that's it.
Cool.
Something along those lines.
Here's the kind of like crappy notes I took so far. They're not highly well organized, because the point of this is we don't really want to spend a ton of time on the machine or the parts around this that we don't need to. But if we can do what we were just talking about, and it can make like this huge improvement for Flux and for maintainability and just allow us to make our features quicker and all of that, yeah, we will have done a really good job for the team, for the project.
And if you'd like those notes to be accessible, you should put them in the meeting notes as well, and also make them shared, please.
Hell yeah. Done. Well, part of it's done. I'll finish the rest. I'll make it accessible in a minute.
Okay, and if we'd like to go back to Sanskar now that you're back with us.
Please do.
I just wanted to say that there is a PR open which adds support for libgit 2 in our new Git package. So once that gets reviewed and merged in, we will be able to get rid of all the Git stuff that is scattered across all of our projects, and then we can just use those packages. So just wanted to make everyone aware that this PR exists, and if you can review it, that would be great.
Super. Do you want to add a link to the PR in the?
I'll do that.
Yeah. Great. Any questions? Then we can move on to Stacy's agenda items.
Hey, everybody. So it came to my attention this week, last week, I don't know, sometime recently, that we accidentally missed submitting our maintainer track session for Flux to KubeCon. So I reached out to the organizers, and they are willing to still accept a talk from us, which is great. So I think it closed on the 11th, so we're pretty late. But they asked us to get something back to them like ASAP, like today if we can. And I am wondering, number one, like if anyone here wants to volunteer for that, first of all. We'll also have other things that we're doing at KubeCon, but this one I think is the most pressing right now. So I'm not sure who's planning on going to KubeCon NA Detroit, or if, like where everyone's at with that. But I believe that this is an in-person thing, but I'm not sure about the rules on that. That is one thing that I did not clarify. So I do need to get them a speaker, a title, company name, abstract title, if we're going to do a maintainer track session, hopefully today. I did tag every maintainer that is listed on the Flux project in the Flux contributors channel on a message there, so that you can read more details on this. There's also a Contrib Fest that is a new event that KubeCon is doing this year, which seems to be like session. It's first of all, it only includes like up to 9 open source projects within the CNCF. They do have a slot held for us right now because of my inquiry with them. So if we want to participate in that as well, that is also on the table. So what that Contrib Fest is it is like a 90-minute in-person session that is to help projects with space and resources to tackle things like outstanding technical debt, security issues, or other like feature requests that could be impactful that we could use help with from like multiple contributors sort of in that space. So yeah, those are kind of like that's the first point. And yeah, Scott. You have a question?
You can continue your points if you want.
No, that's fine. That's like the first one on that topic, and if we want to discuss it a little bit, I'm open to it.
Got it. Okay, yeah, that's what my hand was for then. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I am very happy to help collab on the maintainers track submission. Can we dedicate a little bit of time during this meeting, y'all, to brainstorm about it? I guess I don't know if we want to do that before Stacy gets to her next point, or maybe after the points and circle to it. But if we can do that, then I think that would be very valuable. I have some ideas, but I think we should talk it out together.
Okay. And Paolo, did you have
sorry, I wasn't done.
something as well? Oh, sorry.
Real quick. The second part of what you just said, the contributor Contrib Fest.
Mm-hmm.
I was just wondering, Kingdon, I know you're like pretty sure you might come, but not 100% sure. I was just wondering if maybe.
No, I'm 100% certain I'm going to be there.
Oh, you're 100. Okay, yes.
I'm not so certain about Contrib Fest. Depending on interest from the rest of the maintainers, I would be really keen to do something like that, but only if it's something that the group wants to do.
Me too. What do you think about like? I mean, I don't know about Bug Scrub being a, we do that virtually already, but maybe just as a fallback, that could be something that would be great to get people involved in person, because there is something really lovely about being in person together and you feel really involved.
Yeah, when this, when you put it that way, when this idea came up, my biggest questions are, how is it organized? And I'm very skeptical because of the Bug Bash that was last KubeCon.
Yeah, I think to answer that question, Kingdon, this is actually put on by CNCF and not it's the co-chairs are offering a new pilot program or event called Contrib Fest. So this isn't like a sponsored thing by a certain company or anything like that,
Awesome.
right?
Awesome. Great.
That was really, kind of iffy last time and didn't make us feel good.
Oh, I really don't want to like push Paolo's point back, but I do think that I have been remiss in mailing this to you, Kingdon. So I have to put it up here.
Oh, you got it. Thank you.
For
so
you.
I was, yeah.
For you, Kingdon, and it's just nice. In my office.
Yeah, so to follow on to your point, I was going to say that we could, even if there is no format, consensus, we can always run it like a session of Bug Scrub, and I think that would be great. Yeah.
So
Yeah, and
that's
I
the
guess
only
the
reason
other,
I mentioned, and sorry that, and now I'm going to shut up right after this, but I just want to make sure to tie this in a bow so it was clear what the value of bringing this up is. So that means we could submit to that, and then we still have some room to have our other ideas and improve, but we're unblocked submitting for that, right? Just
yeah, right now we have, oh, you mean like
the
internally within the
Contrib Fest.
team, or yeah, so ContribFest, if we want to do that, they have a slot held for us. We have the last position, so we're the 9th project to participate in it if we want to at this point. So if we don't, then they're going to open it up to someone else, which is fine. But right now we have the last slot reserved.
Okay, just before, anyway, okay, so then, thank you. So can we, okay, so whoever, I don't know, Paolo, this is your topic to contribute to, or is the next one, but just, my vote is like, since you feel that way, Kingdon, like, let's hold that and say, yes, we'll do it. And then if we think of a better idea between now and then, we can do that. But worst case scenario, we can do the bug script and I can help you.
Okay,
In person.
all right.
Okay, Paolo, sorry.
No worries. Well, actually, I was just going to ask a few things around the Flux maintenance track. So the first thing is talking with Sanskar on the background. He was, he's kind of keen, but only if he has the other talk also accepted. And on my case, I'm not sure if I'll be able to travel all the way there, in October. So on my case, it would be more about whether that can be done virtually. And if so, can we both apply? And then if one gets accepted, like how does that work?
Yeah, I don't know. Like in the past, I haven't actually been a part of the actual submission process for that. But I can certainly ask for, clarification, to say, hey, we have 2 candidates who want to propose separate sessions. Do you choose one based off of 2, or do we just get 1 to submit?
Yeah, but to be honest, if he gets the other one accepted and he's going already there physically, then I'm happy to talk on another occasion. But yeah, but you need the whole title and ideas kind of right now, right?
I mean, yeah, if we can brainstorm it and get something ready today, like they're on Pacific time, so we have a little bit of like wiggle room for us to, brainstorm ideas, and then I can work with Scott and Kingdon or whoever else that's kind of in the US time zone to kind of flesh out like an abstract a little bit more. But if we could come up with an idea or a couple of ideas that we want to focus on, then yeah, that would be great.
Cool. Well, on my side, I was thinking to kind of talk about security, as always. So I was thinking about the multi-tenancy thread model, kind of going through it, and kind of focus on the points in which Flux can help mitigating stuff, especially when we're talking about isolated clusters. So kind of showing which kind of threats we kind of protecting against on like a kind of recommended deployment model, and also kind of diving down on other specific things. So for example, I'm working on an app armor for Flux, which would also massively decrease attack surface if we have any supply chain issues and all. So yeah, the idea was to kind of cover all that in one go.
Okay.
Sanskar, what were you thinking about on the maintenance track?
I haven't really thought about anything yet. But if we could brainstorm something, and if I happen to be there, then I don't mind doing it.
Or maybe we can even work together on that, and then if you're there, you just present it. Yeah, I think that actually could work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys want to brainstorm other ideas as well? Like, what are you guys thinking?
Well, one thing is that we don't exactly know where we're going to be with Flux graduation by then. I feel like if that does actually go through by then, I mean, definitely not holding our breath for that time period, but if so, then that'll be a major focus, right? We'll want to really capitalize on, or well, build on that, you know, take advantage of that fact. And I wonder if that's something that we want to take advantage of anyway, is just letting people know, like, really where Flux is with maturity, and kind of like, what is our point in the maintainers track? Is it to encourage folks to come? Is it encourage more usership? Is it encourage folks to contribute and potentially become maintainers as well? If so, you know, I can say that from the last Helm maintainers track talk, that was our major focus, and my major focus too, is like, how can we A, let people know that we are actually open to that, and B, how can we unblock them and enable them to do that? You know, because I think at least Flux may be in a different situation than Helm, but you know, I think Helm's like had been graduated a long time ago. It's part of a huge number of Kubernetes user stacks, etc. And I think a lot of people are like, oh, I don't know if I could ever be a maintainer of that. But we actually do need people to help review PRs. Whereas with Flux, we don't necessarily need more maintainers, but it could be helpful. The one thing we need to impress upon people, or I don't know, just whatever the strategy should be. I'm not sure what the strategy should be, but basically I was thinking, by contrast, but maybe in a little ways slightly similarly, Flux, as Stefan had just mentioned recently, that as Flux becomes more mature, the requirements for maintainers has gone up. So I think that's one of the things we could maybe we could give people an overview of where Flux is at with the ability to contribute and help maintain. Like maybe there are certain things like Flux core maintainers, the list is rather high, but I mean, no one's excluded. Just know that, and if you want to get into it, we can look. But then there are other areas within Flux that people can contribute to kind of right away, almost like those good first issues from the bug scrub and so on, or you know what I mean? That kind of focus. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I think Max put something similar into the Zoom chat here as well. He's given the thumbs up.
Oh, yeah.
And I do think that that is something that would be very valuable and good messaging for us at KubeCon. I don't want to take up all the space here, and I want to open it up to other people, but I am totally on board with this as well. And even if, you know, if we focus a good portion of the talk on, you know, Paolo, like your security items and things like that, but then also allow for a good chunk of our session to also focus on this. I think we could combine both, right?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. One thing that I was thinking as well, and doesn't need necessarily be like a key title of the talk, but would be good to kind of do a bit of a recap of the key features we landed in the last like 6 months or whatever. Like we've done so much on Git, on OCI, like all those things would be absolutely awesome to kind of entice users to go to the latest versions, just, you know, just for that.
Yeah, for sure.
100%. That seems like a good outline to me. Recap of kind of like Flux 2 status, recap of key features, you know, and how you can get involved, you know?
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, another angle on that thread of how you can get involved, just for further elaboration, is on the thread that it's more difficult to become a Flux core maintainer or become a maintainer for one of the existing projects. Is we've seen a couple of projects like Tofu Controller, Terraform, you know, that's been developed on GitOps Toolkit, and this may be the way that we get more maintainers in the future, is through cross-pollination of projects when folks have developed their own, you know, derivative tools based on the GitOps Toolkit, and then maybe they get contributed back to the Flux project at some point. those people can become maintainers too.
Yep.
Okay.
100%.
Great. Okay, so I've taken some notes on this particular topic. Is it okay with you guys if I kind of write something up and then we can follow up maybe in the on the thread that I posted in the Flux contributors channel? I'll like put a link to a doc there so that we can all follow up there. Is that good?
Yeah, and we can collab. Maybe
for
on
sure.
that with you, like through comments or through whatever, if
Yep.
anyone else wants to collab too. Okay.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you so much for doing that. So my action items for this are, I will get the maintainer session sort of outlined, solidified, and then we can all sync up on that to get it checked off the list, and then I can send it over to the CNCF folks. And then also I will confirm that we will participate in Contrib Fest, whether it be the bug scrub or something something else. We'll figure it out between now and then.
Awesome.
Okay, fantastic. And my only last item on the list here is just to let everyone know that Kingdom's doing a live stream on August 17th. That will be, it's up and it's being promoted right now. I think I even have it on the Flux CD website calendar. So just wanted to mention that it's going to be a CNCF live stream on VS Code and Flux, testing the new unreleased OCI repository feature. So
Which
please
by that
join
point
for
in
that.
time will likely be released. But I'm preparing for all the eventualities in case it's not released by then. I have some CI tricks if anyone is interested to try the OCI repository feature before the live stream. You can use it right now. It works. So the feature development that we'll be expecting between now and then, for me at least, is in the VS Code extension, so that we can actually see that it works in the VS Code extension. So
Ooh,
thanks. Yeah.
On that point, sorry if I missed a little piece of it, but were you talking about the current but not yet finalized OCI work for
Yes.
YAMLs? Okay.
In customized controller, that is on, I'm not sure what the PR is right now, but I'll put a link in the notes.
Yeah.
Yep, Stefan's OCI branch PR.
I would love to do that. When are you doing it again?
The live stream is on August 17th.
Okay.
And I'll be doing dry runs as soon as I have something to show in the VS Code. But if you'd like to do something before then, we can see what it's like without the VS Code work that's not completed. So yeah,
Definitely do, and that's one of the KubeCon and GitOpsCon talks that was proposed with me and Souley was
yes.
was focusing on that, and basically anything I can learn from you and anything I can contribute to what you're doing with that would just be great.
Yeah. Yeah, the general thing that I'd like to put out there too is about feature branches. If we have, we never know how long a feature branch is going to have to live before it can get merged. Sometimes we need to be prepared to test a feature branch. So the major thing that I've developed here is a tool that runs in GitHub Actions that builds Flux from that feature branch, and it stores it in a cache. So if you know how GitHub Actions works with artifact storage, you can, if you're not careful, if you're a private GitHub user, you can get a bill because of your storage usage. So this, it's very smart the way that caching works. Since the build takes about 3 minutes, you don't want to add 3 minutes to your standing build time, especially for something like manifest generation that you might want to do on every single commit. So this is something that might be generally useful in the future when we have feature branches again. That I'm not sure what features are planned in the future, but yeah. So
That's cool.
anyway, that's it from me, and I think that was the last item on the agenda. Any last minute things from anyone, or shall we call it the end of the meeting? I hear nothing, and that that's a wrap then. Okay.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Everyone.
See you later.
Bye.
Ciao.